Colony 19 was small, poor, and forgotten. It was a mining colony far from Earth, deep in space. The people there lived hard lives. They worked all day digging rare minerals. Their homes were made of metal and rock. They had no army, no strong weapons, and only one small spaceport. Everyone on Earth called Colony 19 the weakest colony. No one thought it mattered. But one day, everything changed. A man named Ray Carter sat outside his small shack watching the stars. Ray was a war veteran. He had lost his left leg in the Mars Rebellion. Now he lived quietly, helping miners with repairs. People respected him, but he was tired of fighting, tired of pain. Suddenly, the sky turned red. Ray looked up and saw something strange. A flash of light, then darkness. All power went out across Colony 19. Machines stopped. Lights died. Even the comms tower went silent. Then, a weak emergency signal came through the main screen at the command post. It was full of static, but one part was clear. "They're coming. We won't survive the hour. God help us." The message came from an old mining satellite near the asteroid belt. Colony 19 had no idea who sent it. They tried to send a message to Earth, but nothing worked. The long-range signal was blocked. Panic began to grow. At the colony center, Dr. Lynn, a quiet but brilliant scientist, watched the screen with cold eyes. She had lived here for 10 years, working on energy systems. Most people thought she was just a tech expert. They didn't know her past. She whispered to herself, "It's them. It's finally happening." That night, 3 bright objects appeared in the sky. At first, people thought it was just space junk or comets, but Ray knew better. Through an old military scope, he saw ships, not human ships, alien. The ships were black, sharp, and moved like snakes. They had no lights. No signals. Silent. Deadly. Ray ran to the emergency bell and rang it. The people gathered. Fear covered their faces. "There's no mistake," Ray said. "They're Drek, and they're coming here." Back on Earth, the leaders at Earth Command received the same broken distress message from Colony 19, but they did nothing. One general laughed. "Colony 19? Let it burn. It has nothing of value." A young officer tried to speak up, but he was told to stay silent. Earth had bigger problems, they said. Colony 19 was too far, too weak, not worth saving. In Colony 19, things got worse. Children cried, families packed bags, but there was nowhere to go. The one colony ship had no fuel. They were trapped. A group of miners shouted, "We're dead. Let's surrender." But Dr. Lynn stepped forward. "No, we don't run," she said. "I have something I wasn't allowed to build. But maybe now is the time." Ray looked at her. "What kind of something?" She paused. "A quantum field device. It's dangerous. Earth banned it. But I built a small version just in case." People stared in silence. "You have a weapon?" Ellie, a teenage mechanic, asked. "It's not a weapon," Lynn said. "It's a chance. But I can't do it alone." That night, Ray, Dr. Lynn, and Ellie met in the old power station. Lynn showed them her secret lab. Inside were strange glowing panels, floating wires, and a small cube of energy. "It can bend space for a few minutes," Lynn said. "If we use it right, we can stop their tech or trap them." Ellie looked amazed. "Why didn't you tell anyone?" "Because Earth said I couldn't," Lynn replied. "But now Earth won't help us, so we help ourselves." Ray smiled, for the first time in days. "Then we fight." A town meeting was called. Dr. Lynn stood on the stage. "No one is coming to save us," she said. "We are alone. But maybe that's our strength." Some people shouted. "We're miners, not soldiers." "Yes," Lynn replied, "but we know this land. We built every tunnel, every wall. We know every rock and wire. This is our home." Ellie stepped forward. "We can turn our drones into bombs. We can trap them. If we work together, we have a chance." Ray stood last. "I've seen war. The Enemy expects fear, but what they won't expect is fire. From us. The room was quiet. Then an old woman clapped. A young boy shouted, "Let's fight!" The whole colony stood. In a place no one cared about, something powerful was born. Hope. The weakest colony had just made a decision. They would not die quietly. They would fight. And maybe they would win. Colony 19 was wide awake. The people had voted. They would not run. They would fight. But outside, in the darkness of space, the Drek ships were getting closer. The first Drek ship entered the sky. It was massive, black like oil, shaped like a long claw. It made no sound. It had no lights. It moved like death. Inside the command room, Ellie stared at the radar. She was only 17, but her hands worked like a pro. She had repaired more machines than anyone in the colony. "They're scanning us," she said. "They're looking for weakness." Ray stood beside her, holding an old plasma rifle. "They won't find it easy this time." Behind them, Dr. Lin connected her quantum device to the old power grid. "If this works," she said, "we might freeze their ships for a few seconds. But we need to time it perfectly." Ray frowned. "And if it doesn't?" She didn't answer. Meanwhile, on Earth, a young officer named Captain Hayes stormed into a council meeting. "They're under attack," he shouted. Colony 19 sent us warnings, the generals laughed. "By who? Pirates?" "No, the Drek," Hayes said. "We have to send help now." But the chief commander shook his head. "They're a dead colony. Weak. We won't waste ships on them." Hayes gritted his teeth. "You'll regret this." Back in Colony 19, people were working fast. Miners turned their digging machines into traps. Ellie added explosives and motion sensors to mining drones. They would act like wasps, flying fast and hitting hard. Ray trained a group of teenage boys and girls. He taught them how to shoot, hide, and set traps. "This is your home," he told them. "If they want it, make them bleed for it." Later, that day, a dark shadow passed over the colony. It was the first Drek dropship. Screams filled the streets. Ray ran to the old war cannon, a broken defense weapon from the early Mars days. No one had used it in years. Its power core was dead. Ellie slid beside him with a huge battery pack. "Will this help?" Ray smiled. "You're a genius, kid." Together they connected the core. The cannon lit up, glowing red. The Drek dropship came lower. "Closer! Fire!" Ray shouted. The cannon released a burst of plasma. It hit the dropship dead center. Boom! The alien ship exploded in the sky. Burning metal rained down. The crowd screamed, this time not in fear, but in victory. They had destroyed a Drek ship with scrap weapons, with no army. They had done the impossible, but there was no time to celebrate. Ellie stared at the radar. "More ships are coming. Bigger ones." Dr. Lin looked at her device. "The field isn't ready. Yet. We need more time." Ray spoke calmly. "Then we buy you that time." That night, fires burned in the sky. 4 more Drek ships appeared above the colony. Ground forces began landing. Drek soldiers were tall, armored, and cold. They had no eyes, only metal masks and long claws. They walked like machines. No emotion, no fear. But the people of Colony 19 were ready. Ray and his team had turned the old mine shafts into tunnels of death, filled with traps, wires, and hidden bombs. The first Drek squad entered a shaft and never came out. One by one, the aliens were slowed, shot from above, blown from below. Ellie's drones flew in, hit their legs, and exploded. Ray was hit by shrapnel, but kept fighting. Dr. Lin finally got a signal working. She tried to call Earth, again, but the screen only blinked red. "No connection, signal blocked." "No help is coming," she said softly, but then she smiled. "Good. We'll do it ourselves." Colony 19 was on fire. The Drek had landed, silent, deadly, and fast. Explosions echoed through the canyons. Buildings were burning. The air was filled with smoke and fear. But the colony didn't fall. They fought. Miners, mechanics, children, grandparents, with old weapons, homemade traps, and courage that the enemy couldn't understand. Ray wiped blood from his face. We're holding them off, but not for long. Dr. Lin was still in the control room, her fingers flying over buttons. Her quantum device hummed like it was alive. Ray ran in, limping. "How much time?" he asked. Lin's eyes were red from no sleep. 10 minutes, I can activate the field for exactly 1 minute, that's all. Ray frowned. 1 minute isn't much. She looked up at him. It'll be enough. If we use Plan 0. Ray froze. No. That was never meant to be real. Plan 0 was an old emergency idea, a last resort. It meant blowing up the main power core, the heart of the colony, to trigger a massive energy burst. If timed with Lin's quantum device, it would release a wave strong enough to shut down all direct tech, but the cost would be high. They might destroy the colony and themselves. Ray looked out the window. Drek ships were landing closer now. He saw a family running, chased by alien soldiers. He made his decision. Tell Ellie, get ready. We do it. Ellie was in the drone bay, fixing broken machines with one hand and firing with the other. Her face was black with smoke, but her eyes burned with focus. Ray arrived and told her the plan. Her jaw dropped. You're going to blow up the power core? He nodded. Only way. But we need to time it with Lin's device. You're the only one fast enough to do it. She swallowed hard. What happens to us? Ray looked at her. We'll be fine. If we're lucky. In the dark tunnels beneath the colony, kids placed the last of the bombs. These weren't war-grade explosives. They were mining charges, small, dirty, but deadly in tight spaces. The kids laughed as they worked. Not because they weren't scared, but because they were brave. This is our home, one boy said. Let's make it count. Back in the control room, Lin activated the quantum field startup sequence. The device glowed blue, then purple, then white. It shook the walls. 5 minutes, she said. Ray grabbed his rifle and stood by the door. Let's give them hell. Outside, the Drek came in full force. Hundreds of soldiers marched through the dust, firing energy bolts that melted walls, but every step forward brought more pain. Drones dived from the sky. Charges blew from under the ground. Traps snapped like teeth. Ray led the fight. His old body was tired, but his spirit burned like a sun. He shot one Drek soldier in the chest, then turned and tackled another with a pipe bomb in hand. Boom! Dust flew. Ray stood, bleeding, but alive. In the reactor room, Ellie connected the core to a timed trigger. She looked at the countdown. In seconds. She whispered, "Please work." Lin held her breath. The quantum device reached full power. She pressed the final button. A soft wave of energy spread out, invisible, silent, but deadly. The Drek froze. Their weapons stopped firing. Their ships fell from the sky like dead birds. Their metal suits locked up. They couldn't move. For the first time, the aliens were afraid. Ray shouted into his radio, "Ellie, now!" Ellie hit the trigger. The power core exploded in a huge flash of light. The ground shook, the sky turned white. And then, silence. Smoke filled the air. Then a voice came through the radio. It was Ellie. "I'm alive." Ray laughed. "So am I." Dr. Lin appeared from the dust, her lab coat torn, but smiling. All around the colony, people stood up slowly, coughing, crying, hugging. The Drek were still, completely shut down, like broken machines. They had done it. They had stopped an alien army without Earth, without weapons, without fear, just heart. And a crazy plan called Plan 0. Smoke still rose from Colony 19. The battle was over. Drek soldiers lay frozen, their machines useless. The people of the colony, tired, dirty, bleeding, stood together. Alive. They had done the impossible. But they knew something else. Earth didn't know, and Earth didn't care. Dr. Lin walked across the ruined control room. She pulled out the last backup comms chip, something she had saved for years. "I can. Send a signal," she said, "one that Earth can't ignore." Ray leaned on a metal beam. "You think they'll believe us now?" Lin nodded. "They'll have to." She powered up the system. The screen blinked on. Static. Then a clear image. Her voice came through, strong and steady. "This is Colony 19. We were attacked by the Drek. Earth refused to help. So we fought alone. And we won. We are not weak. We are not helpless. We are the first colony to defeat the Drek. We need no rescue. But the galaxy should remember this day. We stood alone, and we survived." She paused, then added, "If Earth still thinks we're just minors, then they're not watching close enough." She ended the message and hit send. Back on Earth, deep in the UN Space Command, a bored technician sat sipping coffee when the emergency alert lit up. Priority signal, Colony 19, live feed. He opened it, watched. His eyes widened. He called his supervisor. Sir, you need to see this." Within minutes, the video went viral. Screens all across Earth, in newsrooms, government halls, military bases, lit up with the message. People watched as smoke covered a small colony and heard the voice of defiance. At the high command, General Bross pounded his desk. "They were supposed to be dead." Captain Hayes smirked. "Guess they didn't get the memo." The general turned. "Fine, get me a transport. We're going to Colony 19, now." Back at the colony, Ellie walked through the wreckage, her tools hanging from her belt. A few kids waved at her. "The Drone Queen," they shouted. She smiled shyly. Then she heard something strange, a low hum in the sky. She looked up and froze. Ships. Earth. Ships. They were coming fast, not to fight, but to land. Ray stood at the edge of the crater where the power core once was. He saw the ships too. Looks like Earth finally cares. The first Earth ship landed gently. Out came soldiers, scientists, news reporters, cameras turned on. Ray stood in front of them, covered in dirt, scars across his face. "Let me guess," he said. "You're here to rescue us?" The lead officer saluted him. "No, sir," he said. "We're here to learn." Within hours, Earth leaders held live broadcasts. They praised the bravery of Colony 19. They called them heroes, but the people of the colony just smiled. They weren't looking for medals. They had something better. Respect. That night, the stars above Colony 19 looked different, brighter, stronger. Because now the whole galaxy knew. Even the smallest colony could stand up to monsters. Even the forgotten could write history. But far away, in the shadows of deep space, the Drek High Command was watching, and they were not pleased. They activated something ancient, something deadly, something meant to crush Earth and its spirit, once and for all. Far from Earth, deep in dark space, the Drek High Command gathered. 12 alien warlords stood in a circle, their skin like metal, eyes cold as ice. They watched the battle footage from Colony 19 again and again. One of them growled. "They were minors." Another hissed, "And yet they destroyed our best unit." A third slammed his clawed fist. "The humans grow bold. That must end." The room fell silent. Then the Supreme Commander spoke. "Activate Project Voidstorm. Project Voidstorm. A weapon, so powerful it had never been used, not even in the Great Galactic War. It was not a bomb. It was not a fleet. It was a machine, ancient, alive, designed to erase entire planets. One pulse, and everything within 1,000 miles simply vanished. No fire, no explosion, just silence. The Drek ship carrying Voidstorm left their warbase and vanished into hyperspace. Its target, Earth. But first, it would stop at Colony 19. Back on Colony 19, life was returning to normal. Ray trained young defenders. Ellie rebuilt drones with stronger weapons. Dr. Lin worked on upgrading the quantum device. But something felt wrong. The sky was too quiet. The air was too still. One night, the stars above the colony blinked out. Not all at once. Just a few at a time. Lin ran to her scanner. Her face turned pale. "Oh no," she whispered. She showed Ray the screen. "It's not a fleet," she said. "It's something else. It's massive. And it's coming straight at us." Ray gathered the people. "We may have stopped the Drek once, but this is different." Lin nodded. "This is their final weapon." Ellie stepped forward. "Then we hit it before it hits us." They had only hours. Lin used her upgraded quantum device to scan the ship's energy. She found one weak spot, a core hidden deep in the ship's center, but to reach it, someone had to fly close, almost too close. One mistake and they'd vanish into nothing. Ray volunteered, but Ellie stepped up. "No, I'm smaller, faster. I built the drones. I can fly one in." Ray hesitated. "Ellie," she looked him in the eyes. "Let me do this." The drone launched at dawn. Ellie was inside wearing a suit made of scrap metal and courage. As she approached the Drek ship, the space around her began to twist. Her screens blinked. Voidstorm was already powering up. If she didn't destroy it in 60 seconds, Colony 19 would be gone. Lin guided her. "Left, sharp left, dive now," Ray shouted, over the radio. "Almost there, keep going." Ellie's hands shook. Sparks flew inside the drone. Her vision blurred. She saw the core. It glowed white, like a silent star. She aimed, fired the payload. Hit it dead center. A blinding flash lit up space. Then, nothing. For 10 seconds, no one spoke. Then her voice came through. "I'm still here." Cheers exploded through the colony. Ray fell to his knees. Lin smiled through tears. The Voidstorm was gone. The colony was safe. But Earth was still in danger. The Drek would not stop. They had lost their weapon. Now they would come in full force. Ray stood up. "Then we take the fight to them." The Drek had failed. Their greatest weapon, Voidstorm, was destroyed by a girl in a drone, by a colony they thought was weak. The galaxy watched in silence, and then one by one, whispers turned to shouts. Colony 19 did the impossible. Again. They are no longer just miners. They are warriors. Back on Earth, leaders argued, General Bross wanted to take control of Colony 19's tech. But Captain Hayes stood up in front of the UN Space Council. He slammed his hand on the table. "They don't need saving," he said. "They need support, and we need to listen." Meanwhile, on Colony 19, Ray trained fighters day and night. The old mine shafts became bunkers. The drilling tools became weapons. Children learned to use drones. Farmers practiced shooting. Engineers studied alien tech. Dr. Lin upgraded her quantum device again. It could now scan across the galaxy, tracking Drek ships in real time. Ellie built a new drone squad. She named them the Swarm. Then, one evening, a small alien ship landed outside the colony fence. Ray and a squad surrounded it. Weapons ready. The ship opened, and out stepped an alien, not Drek. Thin, tall, gray-blue skin. Hands raised. "I mean no harm," the alien said in perfect English. "I came because I saw your message. My people hate the Drek too." He gave his name. Sarn of Vela. He had escaped Drek slavery years ago, and now he wanted to help. "They fear you now," he said, "and that fear is power. Use it." He brought blueprints, maps of Drek war bases, and something more, a Drek weakness. Deep inside every Drek warship was a hidden control hub, grown, not built, organic, alive. It could be shut down from the inside, but no one had ever dared try. Ray looked at the map, then at Lin, then Ellie, and said, "Let's hit them where it hurts." That night, the people of Colony 19 gathered around a fire. Ray stood before them. We were born here with nothing, he said, forgotten by Earth, ignored by the stars. But we survived. We fought back. And now the Drek fear us. He paused. But this isn't just about survival anymore. This is about freedom. Not just for us, but for every human colony. For every alien the Drek crushed. For the future. The crowd cheered. Loud, fierce, real. Colony 19 launched its first strike fleet 1 week later. 5 homemade ships, 50 volunteers, all trained by fire, all ready to die, if needed. But one thing was clear. They were not miners anymore. They were warriors, and the Drek had no idea what was coming. A war was coming, not just for Colony 19, not just for Earth, but for all of humanity. The Drek had made one mistake. They believed humans were weak. They believed Colony 19 was unimportant. They believed fear would control the galaxy. They were wrong. Colony 19's war fleet moved through space. 5 ships, homemade, armored with mining plates, powered by stolen Drek engines. Inside them, farmers, miners, engineers, children who once ran from storms, now flying into one. At the front was Ray. Beside him, Ellie and Dr. Lin. Behind them, Hope, their target, Drek Central Core, the largest war base ever built. It was not on a planet. It floated between dying stars protected by hundreds of Drek ships. Impossible to reach. Unless Lin's device pulsed. We found the blind spot, she said. One hole in their defense. It lasts 8 minutes. That's our way in. Ray nodded. Then we don't waste a second. As the fleet approached, the stars flickered. Sarn, the alien ally, sent one last message. If you do this, the Drek will never be the same. Ray replied, That's the idea. The battle began. The colony fleet broke through the first line, fast and sharp. Drek ships scrambled. Laser fire filled the void. Ellie's drones, the swarm, flew in all directions, dodging fire, striking engines, taking out enemy cannons. Miners, who once broke rocks, now broke Drek hulls. Every shot was a memory. Every hit was a message. You underestimated us. Inside the main ship, Ray, Ellie, and Lin landed near the control hub. A living hallway breathed around them. Walls pulsed like veins. The Drek had grown their ship like a beast. The deeper they went, the warmer it got. Lin pointed. That's the heart. One blast here shuts the whole base down. But it was protected by a Drek warlord, bigger than anything they'd fought before. Claws like blades, eyes like fire. It roared and charged. Ray blocked the first attack, flying backward, into a wall. Ellie circled with her jetpack, firing lasers, missing. Lin shouted, It's armored in front. You have to hit the back, Ray shouted back, then distract it. Ellie flew close, too close. The warlord swung. She dodged, barely. Ray saw the opening. With his last missile, he fired, straight into the beast's back. It howled, exploded in a flash of black flame. The hallway collapsed behind them. Lin jumped forward and set the charge. 3 minutes till overload. They ran. The base shook. Drek screamed in their language. Ships spun out of control. Ray's communicator buzzed. Sir, the whole Drek fleet is breaking apart. They're fleeing. Outside, the stars brightened. Other human colonies had joined the fight. Earth had sent reinforcements. Alien ships, allies of Sarn's people, arrived in waves. For the first time in history, humans and aliens fought together. For freedom. For the future. The team reached their ship just as the core exploded. A white light spread across the Drek base like a firestorm. Then, silence. Colony 19's fleet returned home days later. No longer just a mining colony, but the spark that ignited a revolution. Other colonies rose up. Drek territory shrank. Their empire, once feared, began to crumble. Ray stood outside the old mine, shaft now turned memorial. He looked up at the stars. We were supposed to die here, he whispered. Instead, we changed everything. Lin taught science to a new generation. Ellie built ships that carried humans to other galaxies. The swarm became a real defense force, and Colony 19 became a legend. One day, a young girl asked Ray, "Is it true? We beat the Drek in just a few minutes." Ray smiled. "No," he said. "We beat them because we never gave up."